There's a silence that only some of us know, the kind that lives in the spaces where a voice should be. Not just absence, but the echo of it. The quiet that settles when no one calls your name at bedtime, when there's no hand to hold yours. During storms, I grew up chasing shadows. Not people, because even shadows gave more shape to my world than the ones who were supposed to stay. You learn early how to measure love in crumbs, how to build identity from fragments, how to survive without ever feeling safe. This is for every child who learned to parent themselves before they knew what love was. For every soul who built resilience from rejection, who found strength in silence because it was all they had. I remember being 5 and watching other kids run into their parents' arms after school, while I waited alone by the gate, backpack slipping off one shoulder, pretending I wasn't waiting for anyone. I told myself stories to explain why they weren't there. They're busy, they're working late, they promised they'd come back. But time is a way of peeling away the lies we tell ourselves to survive. Eventually, you realize no one is coming. No rescue, no apology. Just the slow, aching truth. You were left behind. And somehow, you still kept going. Growing up unmothered doesn't mean you don't have a mother. It means you grew up without the safety, warmth, and unconditional presence that defines what a mother should be. Maybe she was physically there, but emotionally absent. Maybe she was too broken to hold you when you cried. Or maybe she walked away entirely, leaving behind questions that never got answered. Either way, you learned to soothe yourself, to feed yourself, to tuck yourself in at night. You became your own caretaker long before you could even spell the word. And in doing so, you lost something you can never get back: the right to be a child. There's a loneliness that lives inside those who grow up without roots. It isn't always loud or dramatic, it simmers beneath the surface, showing up in moments you least expected. Like when someone asks, "Where are you from?" And you hesitate, not because you don't know, but because home feels like a concept, not a place. Or when someone says, "Call me if you need anything," and you laugh quietly to yourself because asking for help feels like admitting failure. You carry this weight of self-reliance like armor, but sometimes it feels heavier than any burden should, because deep down, you want someone to show up for you, someone to see your pain and not turn away. But you've trained yourself not to need anyone, because needing someone means risking loss again. Foster care taught me about impermanence, about folding your life into a single suitcase and carrying it from door to door, never knowing how long you'll stay. I remember smiling through every goodbye, nodding politely when adults said things like, "You're such a strong kid." But strength, when forced upon you, doesn't feel brave, it feels lonely. Every placement came with rules, expectations, and temporary affection. Some were kind, most were indifferent, a few were worse, but none were forever. And so I learned not to unpack fully, not just my clothes, but my heart. If you never let yourself belong, then no one can take that belonging away. Abandonment changes you. It rewires your nervous system. You walk through life hyper-aware, always scanning for exits, always bracing for impact. Love becomes a gamble. Trust a risk you're not sure you can afford. You attract people who mirror the patterns you know, those who disappear, who withhold, who leave you guessing. Because familiarity hurts less than the unknown, even when it's painful. It's predictable, and predictability, however cruel, feels safer than nothing at all. But here's the thing about surviving childhood neglect: you become intimately familiar with your own company. You learn how to sit in silence without needing noise to fill it. You develop an inner dialogue so rich, so vivid, that sometimes it's the only thing keeping you alive. That voice inside becomes your lifeline. Sometimes it's angry, sometimes it's tender, but it never leaves. And slowly, painfully, you begin to understand that healing isn't about erasing the past, it's about rewriting your relationship with it. Healing starts with naming the pain, saying out loud, "Yes, this happened to me," and letting yourself feel it without shame, without guilt, without minimizing. We spend so much of our lives trying to convince ourselves we're fine, that we don't hurt, that we don't need anything. But real healing begins when we stop pretending, when we stop silencing the parts of us that scream for attention, for validation, for love. Those parts deserve to be heard. They deserve to be held. And if no one else will do it, then we must learn how to do it for ourselves. Reclaiming your identity after years of disconnection is a slow, messy process. You start by asking yourself questions you've avoided for years. Who am I without the trauma? What do I believe about myself that isn't true? What would I say to the child I once was if I could hold her now? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary. Because somewhere along the way, you stopped being just a person and became a reaction to everything that happened to you. Healing means remembering who you were before the pain shaped you, and daring to meet that version of yourself again. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's not about excusing the inexcusable. It's about releasing the grip the past has on your present. It's about choosing not to carry the weight of resentment anymore, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a daily decision to let go of the story that once defined you and step into one that honors your growth instead. You don't have to heal perfectly. You don't have to follow a timeline or meet anyone's expectations. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you've come so far. Other days, you'll feel like you're drowning all over again. Both are okay. Both are part of the journey. What matters is that you keep showing up for yourself, that you keep speaking your truth, even when it shakes, that you keep reaching for light, even when you can't see it yet. And here's something they won't tell you. You are allowed to grieve, not just for what you lost, but for what you never got to have. Grief isn't reserved for death. It lives in the space between what should have been and what actually was. So cry if you need to. Scream into your pillow. Write letters you'll never send. Burn old photos. Do whatever it takes to honor your pain, because grief, when buried, turns into something darker. But when faced head on, it becomes the bridge to healing. You didn't ask for this life, but you were given it anyway. And somehow, you survived. You adapted. You endured. You became more than the sum of your wounds. You became resilient, not because it was easy, but because you had no choice. And that resilience, that quiet, stubborn strength is a testament to your worth. You are not broken. You are not damaged. You are simply human. Beautifully, silly, imperfectly human. So, where do we go from here? We keep going. We keep learning. We keep showing up. We build new traditions, new connections, new ways of loving ourselves that feel safe and sacred. We surround ourselves with people who choose to stay, who see us not as projects to fix, but as souls worthy of love exactly as we are. We find peace in small moments, in warm tea, in morning sunlight, in the sound of rain against the window. We reclaim joy without guilt. We allow ourselves to rest. We give ourselves permission to heal at our own pace, and we speak. We speak out so others don't feel so alone. We share our stories not to seek pity, but to offer proof. You are not the only one. There are thousands of us walking around with invisible scars, carrying silent burdens, learning how to live without the foundation we deserved. And when we share, when we open up, we create space for healing for ourselves and for others. We break the cycle. We rewrite the narrative. We remind each other that we are seen, we are loved, and we are enough. If this resonated with you, if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or unworthy, know that you are not broken. You are simply surviving, and survival is its own kind of miracle. So I invite you now, leave a comment below, share your story, ask your questions, let your voice be heard. Whether you were raised in foster care, abandoned by those who should have protected you, or simply left emotionally stranded, your experience matters. Your pain is valid. Your healing is possible. Let's build a community where we don't have to hide our scars, where we can talk openly about the ache of growing up without roots, the struggle of finding identity in the aftermath, and the slow, sacred journey towards self-love. Drop a line below. Tell me your story. Ask me anything. Let's turn silence into solidarity. Let's chase something real together.